Hey tribe, what's up? This is going to be a great video. And I'm not even too sure if this might only be for the tribe because this is special stuff, but maybe I'll share it with everybody here. Maybe I'll share it with everybody on YouTube. But we're going to talk about things that will change your life here. I mean, this is what's changing my life. Okay, in the area of success and manifesting. And this is really what's holding you back, but you don't know it. It takes time to get here. So all I'm doing is speeding up time for you because once you're aware of it and if you think you do this, this is going to be a jawbreaker for you here. But anyway, I'm going to finish making my coffee. Come with me. It's almost done. It's over here in the pot. Let me just make sure the water's nice and hot. And we'll get rocking and rolling. You'll learn how the Chad makes his coffee, at least here in Surin. This wasn't how I made my coffee in my condo. So this will just take me like 20 seconds because pretty much everything's done. But I just wanted to hook up the video, hook up the mic, get everything going. I have some Thai donuts this morning. I forgot about actually. I usually don't have donuts and coffee. I usually do intermediate fasting in the mornings, but Anne got me some regular donuts the other day, but she forgot she got me regular donuts. And yesterday she got me Thai donuts. So I had Thai donuts plus regular donuts. So I saved the Thai donuts for today. So, am I making you hungry? So let me grab the donuts. I believe they're somewhere in here. What you two doing? What are you two doing? What are you two doing? You don't see the puppies. I had the camera high. Well, in here, this is like old culture in Thailand. This is kind of where they keep the food that kind of smells because that way ants don't get on it. Because it's a super buggy, like up in Surin. Like, I mean, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but dude, like I'm serious. Like these in Surin, I've never seen so many ants in my entire life. Serious. No matter where I live, no matter where I lived in the States, if I live in California or somewhere, California can be bad in ants too, just because it's desert. You know what I mean? But woo. But anyway, let me not get caught off on a tangent. I have a question for you. I want a question for you to answer here while we're doing this. Okay, is what you have to understand is it's all about breaking cycles. Okay, we talk a lot about identity work. We talk a lot about you have to be that most successful version of you. You have to behave, act. Not so much behave, act. It's more so, make decisions, make choices as that most successful version of you. Okay, see, that's the hard part. So that's the part that people don't tell you. Okay, sometimes from time to time, you can be in the right mode, the right mood. You can dress how you would dress. Maybe that doesn't change. You know what I mean? You start driving to nicer areas of town. You start from time to time, you start putting yourself in nicer areas of town, maybe a coffee shop, something like that. All those things are great. Keep doing it. I'm not telling you stop doing it. But this is going to take it up to another level. But the question I have for you is, do you go all in? That's the question. I want you to sit here and seriously think about it. Okay, especially if you're older. Okay, because lots of times when we're older, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that we're smarter. It doesn't mean that we know more. All it means is you have more life experience. And lots of times when you're older, you have more life experience. It's easier for you, listen, it's easier for you to look back at your life, and you can easily, when you start looking back, you start noticing patterns and habits that you have, that things you do over and over and over again. Maybe they're past relationships. You know what I mean? Maybe you look back at your past relationships, all the relationships you've been in. Okay, now these could be intimate relationships. These could be business relationships. These could be friendships. Okay, and you start looking at those relationships, and especially how they ended or something like that. And lots of times what will happen is we will recognize a pattern. We will recognize a habit that we're doing. Okay. So while I'm chewing on this donut, I'm going to ask this question again. Do you go all in? Actually, these donuts are a day old. They're not as good when they're like fresh the same day. They would have been better yesterday. They're a little bit dry. I'm not joking. A little dry. You might see me choke in this video. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper with this question, because I really want you to think. Okay, and I'm not talking about success and manifesting. Do you go all in? Because lots of times I go all in, Chad. I go all in on success. I go all in manifesting. You know, I go all into my dream house, my life I want. No, do you go all in? Sit aside manifesting here for a second. Do you go all in? Do you go all in life? Life, day-to-day things, do you go all in? I want you to seriously sit back and answer this question. I want to get you thinking here for a second, because I want you to see. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper with this do you go all in question. Let me get this notification off. What I mean is, do you go all in life? See, what you'll find is, if you don't go all in one area of your life, you pretty much don't go all in any other area. You understand? Okay? Who you are in one area of your life is who you are in every single area. Okay? Since I'm up in Surin, I wish I had like a whiteboard to write on or to show you. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think, like, I'm going to be all for sort of writing on this writing on this wall right here. Aang wakes up like, what the hell? And I'm like, this was such a good point to share in the video. Okay. So, do you go all in life and you start recognizing who you are in one area of your life is who you are in every single area? Okay, if you don't go all in one area of life, well, this is what I know about you. You don't go all in on any area. For example, let's dig deeper outside of manifesting. And I'll flip it. Listen, I'll flip it in manifesting. When you're in a relationship, do you go all in or are you sitting on the fence? Hmm. Haha, I'm starting to hit some triggers, huh? When you're in a relationship, do you go all in? Well, relationships can be anything, It could be intimate, friendships, whatever. Do you go all in or do you sit on the fence? You see, for me, what I started noticing is I don't go all in. You know what I mean? Like, even in a relationship, I tend to not go all in, like secretly. Okay. This is what I'm saying. You're not telling someone you don't go all in, but secretly there's a feeling in you that you really don't go all in. There's a part of you that holds back. Okay, my friend? That's what I mean. That's what I mean sitting on the fence. Like when you're sitting on the fence, I should go out there and sit. Sit on the wall. When you're sitting on the fence, listen, you're in the middle, meaning like you don't make a strong choice either way. You understand? You're not going this way or that way. You're on the fence. This is kind of like when we're indecisive. This is exactly what happens when we're indecisive, is we're sitting on the fence of a decision and we don't make a strong choice either way. Okay? And when we think we're making a choice, what happens is we tend either life makes that choice for us or we start doing this work and we start making strong choices. And what we find is, especially in the beginning, like we'll kind of jump and make a decision. We think we go all in, but once we're over here, our mind goes crazy. Okay, because our mind is so used to sitting on the fence, so our mind goes in analytical mode. Did I make the right decision? Okay, do I need to jump back over here? Do I need to change my mind? You know what I mean? So even though we make a decision, our mind goes crazy. You're trying to process it really fast. Okay, you're trying to process, is this going to work out? Okay, and you start immediately almost thinking about a plan B. Okay, well, if this doesn't work, what I need to do? Like, how do I get out of this? Like, you understand what? Okay, dude, this is what I do. Okay, so even when you're doing that, you're in the beginning phases of making strong decisions, making strong choices, but it's still holding you back a little bit. Okay. Now this isn't a decision video, but do you go all in? You know what I mean? When you're in a relationship, do you go all in? Or have you been hurt in the past? And then when you get in new relationships, that hurt in the past kind of holds you back a tiny bit. There's a part of you that you're not going to expose again. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, I don't know how to express it in words. Okay. Okay. Now, relationships is a good one because if you've been in several relationships, that means you've probably been hurt and disappointed and stuff like that. And when you get in new ones, you kind of bring that gunk with you into a new relationship. So do you go all in? And relationships is a good one. Okay, my friends, relationships is a good one to see if you go all in or not. Because listen, like I said, if you don't go all in on relationships, you always have an exit plan, okay? Secretly to yourself, okay? You know what I mean. Listen, if you don't go all in on relationships, you don't go all in other areas of your life. And like I said, who you are in one area is who you are in every single area. Okay. That's what I want you to see. This is what's going to change your life, okay? Because listen, with manifesting, okay, let's flip it over to manifesting. Because I know I've been talking a little bit about I want you to see, okay? I want you to see because I want you to get results, okay? Because with manifesting, listen, the no-no with manifesting is if you don't go all in, you're sitting on the fence of life, okay? You're not making decisions either way, okay? Nothing's going to come to you. Maybe nobody's telling you that. But yes, something's going to come to you because we're all manifesting, okay? But the things coming to you isn't going to be things that you really want, okay? Because you're basically so much in indecisive mode that that's what's kind of coming to you. Just very vague things. You know what I mean? So like with manifesting, you want to change your life. You want to live life on your terms, but you have to go all in. You understand? See, a lot of us has this backwards. We're like, I go all in, Chad. I go all in on these manifesting techniques, but at the same time, you don't go all in on life. You don't go all in on your relationships. You hold back. Maybe you're 70% in the relationship. Okay, where's the other 30%? You understand? Maybe you have a job, but you don't go all in on your job. Maybe you give it 60%. Where's the other 40%? You understand? Maybe you have friendships. Maybe in a friendship you give a little bit more than an intimate relationship. Maybe you're at 80%. But where's the other 20%? You understand? You're not going all in. Just in your regular life, okay? Then when you start making decisions, if you're not going all in life, I know 100% you sit on the fence, meaning you're not making strong decisions either way. And this is how manifesting works. Manifesting works on you being definite, you knowing exactly what you want, okay? And you being definite, meaning you go all in. You being definite, meaning you're not sitting on the fence in life, okay? And I know I'm using that metaphor, but you're making a strong decision either way. You understand, okay? You have to go all in. And the other part of this is what people don't share with you. Going all in is scary as shit. Going all in is scary. Even though I look cheesy right now, eat my Thai donut. It's scary. You're uncomfortable. And for me to sit here and say, you're not going to be uncomfortable, you're not going to face fear, you're not going to face things you don't like, I would be lying to you. Okay? Sometimes going through this stuff is not all sunshine and rainbows. Okay? But this is what I can promise you. If you stay in the fire, you will, your dream life is on the other side. What you want is on the other side, my friend. That 100% I can promise you. But it's not easy. It's tough. Okay? It's tough because the reason why it's tough is because what's happening is you're exposing the patterns and habits that are holding you back. You're exposing that old identity. And when you're exposing it, you're seeing what you do. You're seeing the habits you do. You're starting to see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Meaning once you start doing those habits again, you start catching yourself. You're like, oh shit, I've just caught myself doing this. That's where you alter the course. I mean, once you catch yourself, then at that point, see, listen, once I catch myself not going all in, once I catch myself when I can really just sit down and be honest to myself, not to other people, this is all private stuff, okay? I can sit down and be honest with myself, like, and I say, do I go all in on my relationship with Aang, for example? Do I go all in? And I started to notice And I started to answer myself, no, I don't. I don't go all in. And from that answer, from me noticing I don't really go all in, you know what I mean? There's always kind of like a little small hidden exit plan if things don't work out. You know what I mean? And all that means is if I don't go all in a relationship, is I don't go all in in manifesting. Because everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected in consciousness. You understand? So when I noticed that in me, it was an eye opener, my friend. It was an eye opener because it's really about being definite what you want in every area of your life, and you go all in. And it's funny how things happen. It's really kind of funny and unique how manifesting works, because we all manifest. Okay, we manifest the good and the bad, the things we want, things we don't want. But if you can think back and you can think times that you manifested things that you want, it's usually when you went all in on that decision, isn't it? It's usually when you're not in conflict with a decision. You just, for whatever reason, you just know exactly what you wanted to do in that moment, and you just let it go naturally. You just forgot about it, and then it happened. You understand? I mean, this is a hard concept because things don't change. Like if I wanted to manifest a cup of coffee and I get up and I'm just thinking funny. I'm just thinking, dude, it would be great. It would be fantastic. When I go to Starbucks, I'm just standing in line thinking about my caramel macchiato. I go up to pay for it and they say, "Oh, today, Chad, it's on the house." And then I just totally forget about it. Okay. Then 3 days later, I actually go to Starbucks. I totally forgot about it. I'm standing in line. I go to pay for it and they say, "Oh, Chad, it's on the house." You know what I mean? It happened. But listen, manifesting a cup of coffee is the same thing like manifesting your dream house. It's the same. It's the same. There's no special technique. There's no special woo-woo to get it to come. It's on the same plane because to the universe, to consciousness, it's the same. Okay, we put a measuring stick on it. Okay, see, with this cup of coffee, we don't care. Like it's like with a cup of coffee, like I'm okay either way. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not attached to it. I'm okay either way. I'm okay if I got to pay for it, not pay for it. I'm okay. You understand? I'm okay. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, you're probably the same way. You're okay either way. You're okay, you're okay either way if they give it to you for free or if you pay for it. But since you're okay with it either way, you're not attached to it. You don't overthink it. You forget about it, and then it happens. Okay. With consciousness, you have a cup of coffee here, right over here on the same plane is $1 million. It's the same. The only difference is what we give it. Okay, we give it importance. Okay, I give this cup of coffee importance, and I give this $1 million over here importance. So basically, what ends up happening in real life is I don't give this cup of coffee any importance whatsoever. But when I see this $1 million over here, I have it on this pedestal up here because like now $1 million is super, 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 super important because we sit here and say, dude, that's going to change my life. So we get attached to it. We got obsessed with it. And maybe that's true. Maybe it would change your life. Okay. But the point is you give it a level of importance. You give it a level of attachment. And since you give it a level of importance, a level of attachment, you get obsessed with it. Those are the habits that kind of repel it from you. But basically on the grand scheme of things, it would work the same way. You know, my friends, like if I woke up, I'm like kind of joking around with myself. It's like, you know what? It'd be great that John Shin just gave me a call and said, "Hey, Chad, I'm going to donate $1 million into your company." And I just giggle, laugh, forget about it. And then 3 days later, it happens. You understand? Because like because I put myself in that state that I'm okay either way. If they do, they do. They don't, they don't. You're really okay either way. But I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here. It's been a half hour. But let's kind of flip back a little bit while we wrap up this video. While I'm staring at my title, I'm kind of staring at it. It's like, do I want to eat this baby? Do you go all in? And I know that sounds like a cliche, but you have to go all in. Anything you start noticing that you don't go all in, you have to go all in. Okay? Because when you start noticing, and this will change your flipping life. I'm not even joking. And how I mean this will change your life. This will change how manifesting is working for you. This will put kind of manifesting on steroids. Okay? Because what you have to understand, things can shift rather quickly, my friends. Okay? That's why sometimes when people finally get it, sometimes they call it many things. You know what I mean? Sometimes when there's this in their gunk phase, as long as you hang on and fight that gunk phase, you'll remain in that gunk phase for weeks, months, sometimes years, because you're fighting that gunk phase. Okay? Lots of times what people have done is, they just surrendered to it. They got to a point where their back was against the wall. They couldn't do anymore. They didn't quit. For some reason, they didn't quit, but their back's against the wall, and they just like, I can't do anymore. I surrendered to it. What happens, happens. You know what I mean? They hit that point where it's a true raw feeling of they're okay. Like they're seriously okay either way. Whatever happens, they'll be okay. Whatever happens, God will take care of me. And when that happens, that's like lots of times within a couple weeks, your life will transform. Because you have a death grip on life and you totally just let it go. Some of us have to get to that point where we have a death grip on it. And as long as we have a death grip on it, life keeps on getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Okay? Because consciousness, God knows what you want. It's putting you in places and situations trying to get you to let go. That's why you should never quit. You understand? You hang in there. You don't quit, baby. That's why Neville Goddard said, persist, and your assumption will always turn into a fact. What you want will always come to you as long as you persist. Because listen, Neville Goddard even knew when your back's against the wall, but you still remain, eventually you're going to give into it. Eventually you're going to surrender. Eventually you're going to let go. Eventually you're going to let go of your death grip. And once you let go, you basically, just like I said, I'm repeating myself like a robot, but you need to hear it. Eventually you basically say, I'm okay either way. Whatever happens, happens, because God's going to take care of me. I'm okay. And you're truly okay. You're truly okay with whatever happens. And that's when things basically can switch for you rather in that moment, rather quickly. my friends. It's just like going all in. When you just finally just, I'll use your relationship, for example. When you finally just go all in, and I don't mean, listen, some of the SP people out there, I don't mean that. When I say all in, I don't mean obsessiveness. I don't mean that you're blowing up their phone, you're giving up your hobbies, you don't have you're not putting a dent in the universe, you're not doing your own thing, you don't hang out with friends, stuff like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're all in emotionally, okay? You don't have little backup plans in your mind. You're all in. Okay, you're all in with your feelings, emotions, and stuff like that. You're all in. Okay, because it's scary. Like relationships is a good example because it's really scary. It's really scary to go all in. It's really scary to be vulnerable. I think that's a better word to use. It's scary, and that's what holds you back. And isn't it unique when we look at relationships and manifesting? They work kind of the same way. Like it's almost like if you went all in and you just super vulnerable. Okay, meaning like you're you're all in on that emotional scale. I'm not saying you're crying. Don't take it don't take it the wrong way, but you're just all in. Wouldn't you think if you did that you would have better relationships? I mean, think about that nugget for a while. Wouldn't you think if you went all in you would probably have better relationships? And if I answer that question myself, I would say yes. If I literally go all in, I would have better relationships. You know what I mean? Um, and that question is a flip flop. Okay, if I'm saying if I went all in on my relationships, I would have better relationships. Okay, well if I go all in on other things in my life, it would become better. You understand? Then if I go all in on manifesting, where I'm making strong decisions, wouldn't you think manifesting would come to you? You know what I mean? It's something to really walk away with and really digest in your life. That's what I'm talking about here today in this video. Okay? Because even that's something I've noticed in my relationships as I get older. And I kind of stopped. I've been thinking a few days that, sorry, I wasn't joking about these donuts being dry. Is that it's not like my relationships get worse as I get older, but what gets worse is me. Okay? And the reason why I get worse is because I don't go all in. Like it's kind of like you're going to a swimming pool, maybe you're in a park or something, and you just have your feet dangling in the water, but you don't really jump in and swim. You're just sitting on the edge with your feet down, hanging in the water, but you never jump in and go swimming. Okay, that's a relation. That's your relationship life. That's like my relationship life. I'm sitting on the bench. I'm sitting on the fence. Okay, I'm sitting on the fence, telling myself I'm in this four-year relationship. But yes, I'm in a 4-year relationship, but I'm not all in. Like, for example, like when the going gets tough, I run. So when the heat gets hot, okay, I run, I want to escape, but then I'll do that in a relationship. You understand? It's like, especially like if I'm in Thailand now. I mean, Aang is Thai, of course. Um, so if the going gets hot, not even with a relationship, maybe other things are going on. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with this, but I might sit there and say, oh, you know what? I'm getting tired of it. I'm going to go back to the United States for a while. But what did I do? I ran. I left Aang handling all the gunk while I escaped to safety. You know what I mean? Rather than like, for me, I started seeing that. And I started like, dude, I'm not all in a relationship, you know? I don't, when I started thinking back to my language, like when Aang and I talk, I started to, the Aang pointed this out in me the other day. She said, like, you always talk from a standpoint of you. You know what I mean? She said, you always, like, you don't, she's like, you don't mean anything mean around it, but you always talk from a standpoint of me. Like, she said, you always talk that, like I'm moving to Jamshid, or I'm moving to Dubai, or I'm going to go back to the United States, or she said, you always talk that way, like what you're doing. But like in a relationship wise, you don't really say we, or or we will go to Jamchian. You always say me, I. You don't really say we. And I caught that. And I started thinking about it. Then it was like, dude, it's true. I mean, every time I talk, it's all about what me wants to do. Or when the going gets tough, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go there. You know what I mean? And that just kind of exposes that, like, I'm not all in a relationship. I'm not saying, okay, okay, you know what, Seren is kind of getting a little bit too much. It's not really the greatest life here. Yes, we're taking care of your dad, but once he's better, we are going to go to Jamchian, okay? Or we are going to go down to Bangkok in a better area, or we are going to go to Dubai. You know what I mean? Like that way it puts her involved. Then plus I'm going all in. Like I'm willing to, if she's going through a gunk, I'm willing to stand in that gunk with her and not leave. You understand? Not kind of, and that's kind of how I've been. It sounds mean probably when I'm explaining it, but like I'm not doing it. Like lots of times we're not doing these things on purpose. You understand? It's just something that we've learned. It's a learned behavior. It's a protection that, like, we ourselves don't want to get hurt. But over time, we're kind of in this super protection phase. We're kind of in this like if I'm Superman and I have superpowers, like if I'm constantly scanning to make sure is everything okay. You, you understand? Um, Another thing, kind of like, now this is just a Thailand thing, okay? But I got wrapped up into it. Like even in Thailand, uh, like if you date girls and stuff like that, usually in the beginning you want to be kind of careful, okay? You don't want to throw money around. If you're dating the wrong girl, I mean, 100%, it's gonna be, I need money for this, I need money for that. I have a sick parent, they're in a hospital, my buffalo is sick. Something. You know what I mean? Most of the time it's a lie. So, you know what I mean? So you have to have, like when you come to like Asia and stuff like that, you really have to have strong standards and boundaries around that stuff. Okay. But then it's okay to be that way in the beginning, but 4 years later, you can't remain in that state. You understand? You know what I mean? Like that's sometimes I've seen myself in Thailand where there's certain things I just have to let go. Like, people aren't going to fool me. They're not going to take advantage of me. I already know too much about that stuff, but I don't need to constantly think about it. You understand? I don't need to constantly think about, well, there's a lot of scams and schemes in Thailand, even though it's true, but it doesn't happen to me because I'm aware of it. But I don't need to keep it fresh in my mind where it kind of alters my thought. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes those are relationship things. Sometimes those are just standard living things. Okay, that will hold you back. Uh, that's all I'm saying. Is is there's a certain point, even in relationships, when we're talking about relationships, there's a certain point that you have to go all in. Okay, they're not going to trick you. They're not going to scheme you of money, scam you of money. You're too smart for that. They're not going to do that stuff. But there's a certain point that you got to trust. You got to trust them. You know what I mean? Because if you're in a relationship and you don't trust them, and if you honestly say, I don't trust them, then maybe you shouldn't be in that relationship. You understand? That's what I mean. Like, even I'm kind of talking about myself, but you're sitting on a fence. You're not making a strong decision either way. You're basically always on the fence of, well, I don't know. Like, I could be on the fence with A. Do I trust A or no? But I'm on the fence. Okay. Now, granted, yes, I trust A. So, but if I sit there and say, yes, I trust A, then I need to be all in, not still sitting over here on the fence. Like, what if? You know what I mean? You understand. You have to go all in, and you have to just believe that if certain things happen, you're going to know how to handle it, but you go all in. You're stopping this sitting on the fence type of bullshit. Okay. That's the whole point. The whole point of this talk, my friends. I know I'm rambling now. It's been about 40 minutes. But just want to share that with you. Because I think, that's really an eye opener, that this is something that will 100% change your life. Because I really feel like once you start getting a habit where you go all in, you're going to see things shift and change. And because, let me link it this way as we wrap it up. What do you think your most successful version of you would do? I mean, would you think that the most successful version of you, would they go all in? That's another question. If you sit back and think, okay, what would the most successful version of Chad do? Would they go all in? And most of the time, the answer is going to be yes. The most successful version of you, it's going to go all in life. And when negative things happen, they're confident enough that they know how to handle it, and they move on and they go all in. So that should answer your question. But anyway, tribe, I know this was a long one, but this is something I've been thinking about. You know what I mean? Something I've been thinking about, something I've been going through too. And I wish these were a little bit better, but they're not. Okay, I should have ate them yesterday, but I had other donuts yesterday. So, but anyway, remember, I love you guys. Comment below, and I'll try to engage as much as I can in the comments. But anyway, peace out, and I'll see you in the next video.